this opportunity to make a presentation about the conservation and management of Borobudur. It doesn't mean to compare Borobudur and Sukhothai, but I think there are similarities between Borobudur and Sukhothai. It's about monument as well as heritage. We have problem with the administration, a lot of parties involved in the process, and we are thinking about how to evolve the concept of World Heritage of Borobudur. I start with for those who do not know yet where Borobudur is. Borobudur is in Indonesia, in Java Island, and in Magelang Regency. And the nearby city is Yogyakarta, about 40 kilometers. For people who want to visit Borobudur, usually they stay in Yogyakarta because the facility in Yogyakarta is more complex than in Borobudur. And there are 20 villages in Borobudur. Population now is about 50,000 of inhabitants. Okay, so this is the history of Borobudur, become a World Heritage, built in 8th century by a kingdom of Mataram Hindu, and then 100 years neglected until founded by English and restored by the Dutch government. From 73, 83, restored by government, supported by UNESCO, and then in 91 it's tied on the World Heritage List, and now become the major tourist destination in Indonesia. Yeah. As Sukhothai also, Borobudur is protected using a protection zone. JICA, yes, with support from JICA. JICA proposed actually 5 zones. Zone 1 and Zone 2 is a very strict protection zone. And Zone 3 until Zone 5, possibility for development. But our government only adopt Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. And as you can see, the problem in the management of Borobudur, because Zone 1 managed by the government, Ministry of Culture, through the Office of Borobudur Conservation Center. Zone 2 managed by a state-owned company, and Zone 3 managed by a local government. So each parties, of course, they have their own interests. And now we are also thinking about how those 3 parties can work together for the good of Borobudur management. There is a momentum when we want to change the idea about how we should conserve Borobudur. So, because Borobudur is a major tourism destination, tourists, as you can see, and we can see also at the picture, because a lot of people before working on the farming, paddy field, now they have become street vendors. And you go to Borobudur, you will find people say, buy me, buy me. It doesn't mean they want you to buy them, but please buy what they are selling. It happens also, especially in 1997 when there was crisis in Indonesia, and I know it's also happened in Thailand. There are a lot of people working at that time. They become street vendors in Borobudur tourism park. And the government, they want to control, they want to manage the street vendors. And 2003, the government developed an idea to make a super mall. They call it smoothly the Jagat Jawa art market, but actually it's a supermarket, super mall full of street vendors and etc. And as you can see from the map, the location very near with the Borobudur, which actually the government itself the plan is not suit with the zone that they make. Then there are protests from universities, from local people. They refuse the idea and become a demonstration and etc. And this situation is our momentum in Indonesia to change the idea, the view about how to conserve Borobudur as World Heritage. I will show you. Yeah, this is what happened in Borobudur. Borobudur and its surrounding, land price, and people start to open a business in the area around Borobudur. Billboard, I'm sure you also see this kind of situation nearby Sukhothai. UNESCO came to Yogyakarta, to Borobudur, because of this, the plan of development of supermarket. And UNESCO also bring the idea about cultural landscape. And we Indonesia, we use this opportunity, to redefine again, to redefine what is Borobudur as World Heritage. We use the idea of cultural landscape. We go back, we trace the history, history of the Borobudur. Borobudur is designed as part of a landscape surrounded by several mountains in a plain, and with the river, and see there is a relation between Borobudur and the landscape, Borobudur and the surrounding area. There is also an expert in geology, and he said that there was, before, Borobudur is located on the lake, but it's very long time ago. Borobudur is part of a pilgrimage for Buddhists. Borobudur is not Borobudur itself, but also part of monuments in Borobudur area. So Borobudur is not just Borobudur temples, but Borobudur is part of the landscape. And within the landscape, you can find village. And in the village, you can find community with their activity. Like you see in Sukhothai, they make pottery, they do farming, everything that you can find in village area. Like before, we have local community say something about Sukhothai. Don't say that community is weak. Don't say that community has no capacity. In Borobudur, community, they have initiative. So in 2003, when there is problem with the development plan of super mall of local community, they said, let's find an alternative to conserve, to develop Borobudur. Don't just see the Borobudur. Let's also develop our village. Let's see the potential of our village. For example, a village who create tofu, pottery, glass noodle, honeybee, etc. We should make this potential to become a top product, and we can use Borobudur as our brand. And everyone will come not just to see Borobudur, but also to see our product. The left one is Mr. Japriana, and the right one is Mr. Sujoro. That's just an example about the initiative of local people about how to manage Borobudur. They also create rural tourism. They say rural tourism. So invite tourists to visit village, and they create a lot of routes, village tour in Borobudur. These are example of their product. Same, like our three groups have the experience of organic farming and bicycling and etc. In Borobudur, in Sukhothai, say we have potential and how we can develop the potentials. Because it is the community, the objective of this conservation, not the monument itself is the objective. It's already around the world, yeah, testimony of people after having the tour posted on Facebook. The question for us in Indonesia, for universities, scholars, researchers, what we have to do with this kind of situation. In Yogyakarta, Gajah Mada University already organized what we call Borobudur Field School. It's already 10 years, started in 2004. What we are doing is making interaction. Yeah, we create where community can have interaction with students, with professionals, with government officers. In this field school, we just learn from community. University of Gajah Mada. Yeah. So we organize this field school. We invite students, we invite lecturers and etc. to come to Borobudur. To come to Borobudur and join this field school. It's already 10 years. And I hope this workshop is not only it's not only this year. We have to have this workshop again next year. Because in this way, we facilitate community. We understand, we learn from community, their voice, and university have access to government. So the role of university in this situation, it is facilitation. See, we use homestay, where community can present, of course, with being fewer, dimmer, yeah, because yeah, they don't have it. But we learn, we hear what they are thinking about Borobudur. Even local people, they are inspired with this field school, and they make their own field school. Someone talking about community vision planning. Let's work on it. Let's do community planning. When we want to work with community, although they are not big, they have capacity, but they have to know about planning. So we should empower them. This map is made by community with our assistance. Okay, what's next? It's just 10 years, and we're still looking for the next 10 years again. Thank you.
Well, you will bring your student here, and I will bring my student there. That's an exchange. Okay. Forward to Sue. Thank you.
That sounds like a good exchange. I liked your last comment. That community lets empower them, and that's what we're talking about now. The community lets empower them. My own experience in the UK, though, is that people are rather cynical about community empowerment because there's been lots of consultation. The consultation gets more and more formulaic. If they could possibly do it on the internet, they would. And there's never any feedback to the community. And I think I heard something of that from our Thai guests, saying, all right, this is a good talk shop, but what about the action? What about feedback? What about the reaction and then further action? And I live in a World Heritage Site, and that's the same thing in terms of community. What we're here to talk about, though, is very specifically community development strategies. So not the consultation side of empowerment particularly, but strategies, policies for interpretation and creative learning. And it was interesting in the earlier group how every time they were trying to talk about physical structures, cultural landscapes, protection zones, bubbling up came interpretation. And it wouldn't go away. Every time somebody tried to stop it, it wouldn't go away. I wonder why. So I couldn't work it out. I mean, I was the first culprit to put it in because the word had come up and the concept had come up and was being bandied around without much understanding. So here we've got a chance to explore what we mean by community development, which is one way of empowerment, and it's a development strategy. Who prepares the strategy? To what extent do the community themselves initiate the strategy? To what extent do they respond to other initiatives? Is it a real partnership? Is it an equal partnership? And then, after that, second, what do we mean by community interpretation? Are we going to hand everything over to them? At what point do we think the community can contribute? At what point do they need partnership with professionals? And then the subject that's come up again and again and again in our discussions over the last 3 days, creative learning. And this creative learning is, in this sense, mainly about craft skills. So I mean, you can take the discussion where you want, but craft skills, the artistic skills, the issue in this area is very, very much that they have an issue with learning styles, unless it's on the job learning, which I know the organic farm does, and also the goldsmiths are trying to get people in early. Mums bringing their children in, enduring all the children in the holidays, feeding them in order to capture them before they disappear to Bangkok. Is that creative learning? What about empowering the potters to create their own things? Do you want to? Do you think there's enough going on? Their order books are full. And finally, my comment is the one that I might have said this morning, but I was trying not to hold proceedings up. Here, the publicity, the promotion is all about the World Heritage Sites. Very largely speaking, without a person in sight. Go on the website, go on DASTA's website. Creative tourism has pictures of Sukhothai, not a person in sight. Everybody, when they actually have a person, they're on a bike, which you think a very few of the population, either Thai or visitor. It's a minority, relatively speaking, but they're on a bike, active. But what I'm actually saying is the bulk of the creative, activity-based tourism here and creative tourism is enormous. It's actually huge, and the potential's huge. How are you going to empower that potential? Do we want to empower it? And then if we then use Sukhothai monuments, cultural landscape, whatever you want to call it, it is technically a monument in a landscape at this point when it was inscribed. They're just a backdrop, and then no one will want to pay for their upkeep if that's the case. No one will want to pay for the conservation because that's happening other ways. When activity becomes so important, in modern sense, what happens to that monument, or those monuments, given the two sides? So, lots of things to feed on from.
Who wants to go?
Who want to continue? Agnieszka?
I'd like to continue because in a way I would be about the same things Sue was talking about, but only taking it a bit further. I think that I should preempt my presentation by introducing myself, not so much as self-promotion, but explaining where I am coming from. I spent almost half of my career as a practicing heritage architect, working for the National Authority for Conservation of Cultural Property, and another more than half in a local authority in the planning department running the heritage regime of the city. So I have been on both sides. I am hoping that this gives me a better understanding of the implications and problems associated with being one or the other. And I also wanted to talk about how we deliver, whoever we are, deliver the desired outcomes we have been discussing for 2 days. And, we have all those great ideas. How we translate that knowledge and those ideas on the outcome on the ground. And this brings me to Sue, this creativity, her thing about the creativity. I am all for that because, creativity is about the problem solving. And when you read the book by Hill, or other book by Russell, sorry, forgot at the moment, you can see that there was once, we admire heritage cities because a lot of creation of historic cities involved individual acts of creativity. So they were crafted, there was an art of city building. So there were general rules set up by some kind of governance, like for example firewalls or layout of the streets prepared by a city surveyor. But the rest of how the city evolved was up to the individual people. So they had to, from the owners to the builders to the stonemasons, go on site and with their hands adjust whatever the aspiration and money they had to a particular situation of that site. So there was a kind of framework of rules, and within those rules, individual people were able to creatively build a city according to their means and aspirations, individual means and aspirations. We lost this with globalization because it's a mass production of cities, okay, which I don't go into anymore. So how are we coming to to what I wanted to say, how we deliver those wonderful ideas and principles and things and knowledge on the ground? Well, I can speak only for my experience, which with my very limited knowledge of Thailand may be very, very different here, because we rely on law and bureaucracy in Australia. And there are some good things and bad things about it, like with everything else. But I would focus on good things. For example, the planning law. The planning law comes from the national government, state government, in a regional scale, and then local government. Something which I understand is happening in Thailand, called decentralization. Which means state government deals with roads and infrastructure, regional infrastructure and landscape, and then national government deals, among other things, with heritage. And then there is heritage legislation. And then there is a local government which deals with control, planning control. So every act of construction in the city has to get a planning approval and the building approval before it can be constructed. And also most of the local planning authorities have urban development capability, which means building long-term strategies about how they want the city to be developed. And then we have a bureaucracy. And you see, there is a very good side to these rules. First, if you have a law which says you have to build residence in this area, mixed zone is this in this area, and you can only have 2-story building here and 5-story over there, and it all has to be aligned with a certain setbacks. They are the planning rules, and everyone has to comply with those rules. Then the bureaucracy is there to tick the boxes. So you come with your planning for development, and you say, I want a 5-story building of this and that, and the planning officers or whoever checks it against those rules, tick the boxes. And if the officer can't tick the boxes, then it goes to the planning committee and eventually to council. And then if either council or the person developing or wanting to make that construction doesn't like it, there is an appeal system which makes it still possible to build something which doesn't comply with the rules. But first of all, the rules are there. So the rules in our system is this a great basic framework which is understood by everyone. So then within this, how we can make within this basic framework still introduce creativity of solving problems and being, involve the community in creative ways. I was very moved by Borobudur examples, and I am wondering if it is just one exception confirming the rules, or if in Indonesia it's different to Thailand, which in Thailand I understand governance is different, like you rely on your network of influence rather than rules and bureaucracy, right? So when you rely on area of influence, then individuals are trying to either obey the law or find someone powerful enough to help them to do what they want and not what the community wants. So it's very, very difficult in those situations to empower the community and then have still some consistent long-term things delivered at the end, which is what we were talking about, this wonderful systems of landscape, and within the landscape individual
Agnieszka, do you have a community development policy?
Well, we have the community development policy, and I share with you this cynical view a little bit, because community involvement is also provided by the planning framework, by law, at the local authority level. So community has to be consulted on everything, on every act of construction. Not everyone, major developments. So our planning meetings and council meetings are open. Elected community could come and express their views.
Okay, and do you have a community development strategy? A formal community development strategy? No formal one. You've got one, it's not very influential. You have one. Anyone else have community development strategies? Where they come from?
Michelle, please.
Michelle.
Thank you. I'm about to finish. You see, what the good thing, I won't talk about bad thing, but I will talk about good thing of the basic law, planning framework for making things happen, and then the creativity within it. In my experience, businesses and developers who want to do something, and community who wants to do something, they like the basic rules, because it provides some kind of certainty or consistency, so they can calculate their risk if they want to do it or not. And they know that if they do this, it doesn't, in a decision-making process, planning approval process, be overturned, and then somebody more powerful, the mayor or somebody else, change it. So there are the good things about it. The bad thing is that it can stifle the community. But I do believe that the good governance we all could understand differently. But the good governance is about giving the framework. It could be called strategy for community development. It could be something else. But you could create a framework for community involvement, but this involvement cannot be endless discussion or trying everyone to bring to the table and then find some kind of compromise so everyone will get a bit which they are after, because then no one is happy, and actually the creativity and and problem solving is being killed in this process. What I find out is the education, I think that it was Nalini who talked about the education, is very good, but then I believe in education at long term and at the local authority level. And I tell you about the education, our style. We offer to people free historical research of the development. So first we have a planning framework which says when you want to construct something in this area, you have to comply with the law.
Okay, okay.